Welcome, everybody, to the Fantasy Football War Room podcast. I'm your host, James, and with me, I've got Nick.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Chris.
Pronto.
Frank.
Hey now.
And Sammy.
It's not like you're going to win 6 or 7 Super Bowls.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
I'm Brady.
Was it too obvious, guys?
That one was easy, Sam. Thanks.
I got to make it harder next time. Sorry. Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I cheated. I gave him that quote.
That's
so
true. Yeah, it was from a book that Gary Mayers wrote a while back when Brady was just a young QB and he was facing Manning, playing for the Patriots. So I don't know if he thought he was going to be as great as he is, but there you go.
I miss those days, when they used to play. Oh wait, Brady's still playing.
He's still playing. Yeah.
But that's. So, gentlemen, how was your day going? You guys doing all right?
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, can't wait to get into this podcast. It's going to be amazing.
I'm excited to talk about these rookie running backs.
Good. Yeah, it should be a good show we got for everybody here. So why don't we get into that? All right, guys. Well, I guess now we should get down to the reason why we're here, the rookie running back. So last segment, we did 15 to 11. Today, we're going to do 10 to 6. We're getting to our top 5 there for our next segment. But at number 10, we have Trey Sermon from Ohio State and Oklahoma. He played at both schools. Running back 6'1", 215 pounds. And from the statistics I have here, he over his career, he had 2,946 rushing yards, 26 TDs, 486 receiving yards with 3 TDs. What do you guys have on Trey Sermon?
So Sermon is getting a lot of hype coming out of Ohio State. And, I think overall he's a solid back. He's physical. He's got, really good balance, good ball security. He's tough. He's a good early down back, but one of the things that, really set him apart, I guess, is really that championship game where he put up 331 points on 2 touchdowns and 29 carries. So he also broke Eddie George's record as a Buckeye during that game as well. So, he has not great hands. So, he's kind of one-dimensional. So that's going to hurt him a bit. He does run a little upright. So he's not going to be that grind out third down back that's going to fall forward, get you those extra half yard and a half, or whatever you need to get into the end zone. So he's going to be an early down guy. He's a committee guy. He could be a good fit. He's going to probably go late, I think, day 2, maybe day 3. And he could be a good committee style back. But again, not necessarily that third down or red zone back. He could get some good yardage for you out in the open. But outside of that, he's going to need somebody to plug those holes where he's weak.
Yeah, I agree. The only other thing I found about Trey Sermon there was that he doesn't really have a very high speed either. He has no breakaway speed for those big plays, really. It's basically more of his vision that was helping him get those huge yardage plays that we saw in that championship game. So that's
totally great.
All right. At number 9, we have Jarrett Patterson from Buffalo, 5'9", 195 pounds. In his career at Buffalo, he averaged 3,884 rushing yards, 52 touchdowns, 271 receiving yards, and a touchdown. Those are some good numbers. What do you guys see on Patterson?
I see Jarrett Patterson as the most underrated running back in this year's class. He was by far the best running back in the MAC, and he made a good case that he was one of the best in the entire NCAA. He's not your prototypical running back. He's 5'9", just under 200 pounds. So he's a bit undersized, which it hurt him coming out of high school. Back then, he was only 5'8" and 175, so it hurt his recruit. In his senior year in high school, he rushed for over 2,000 yards with 23 rushing touchdowns. And his best game in high school, he had 558 all-purpose yards. So he's always had big games at every level. In Buffalo, he went over his coaching staff as a freshman. He rushed for 1,013 yards in a split back role. And in his sophomore year, he ran for 1,799 rushing yards which is a Buffalo school rushing record. Just last year, he ran for 1,072 yards, 19 touchdowns in only 6 games. It's about 178 and 3 touchdowns a game. He had a monster game this past year. He tied Howard Griffin's rushing record with 8 touchdowns in a single game. And in his last 2 games, he had 2 back-to-back 300-yard games, which is it ties Ricky Williams for a record. In the NFL, he might be a guy that'll work into a committee. He'd probably be a good 3rd down back because of his size. He's really well put together. He's got a low center of gravity, and he just runs so hard. With his big game, he's changed a lot of people's mindsets. That 8 touchdown game just raised a lot of eyebrows and brought so much attention to him. I don't think in the NFL he'll be a bell cow kind of guy, but I can definitely see him in a committee, which seems to be what the league is leaning towards these days.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much hit all the points on Jaret Patterson. For me, he's the kind of RB that can easily jump ahead of a bunch of the guys that we're going to talk about here on this list. He can pretty much do it all. When I see him coming into the NFL, I see him, like, I hate to make the same comparison here to this player, but just like James Robinson made the Jags comfortable to cut Lombardi Lenny, Jaret Patterson, he can be that guy. He's versatile. He can catch passes, and he's going to be a steal late in your rookie or startup drafts. It's already been reported that he met with Buffalo virtually, which is the exact situation that would vault Jaret into that RB1 consideration. He has great instincts, great technique, and he has feet that would make Rex Ryan salivate. The only thing that might hamper his rise in the NFL, like Frank says, is his lack of elite athleticism and size. Look, a big part of gold mining for me late in these drafts is taking a look at some of the advanced analytics. And one of the big advanced analytics for me that I look at is the Dominator ranking. The Dominator ranking is a number that represents a player's market share or his percentage of the team's offensive production. So, for example, a 35+% Dominator indicates that a wide receiver has the potential to be a team's wide receiver 1 or a higher contributor. 20 to 35% indicates a mid-level talent, and a less than 20% is kind of a red flag. For RBs, the Dominator ranking is the percentage of total offensive production as the running back is involved in both the running and passing game. With that, Jaret Patterson this year, his career Dominator ranking is 33%. Coming out of all the RBs in the class, that's the highest. When you look at some of the top-rated RBs coming out, Travis Etienne's Dominator ranking is 24%. Najee Harris's Dominator ranking is 18%. Javonte Williams' Dominator ranking is 21%. So if you're looking for a steal in those late rounds of your draft, if you want to take a chance on a guy in the second, this might be one of those guys that's going to turn into gold. For me, Jaret Patterson is my next, and James is going to like this one. He's my next Antonio Gibson.
So I just want to make one thing clear here. You're not saying that Rex Ryan has a foot fetish, because you were talking about salivating over his feet. I was just a little confused.
In the words of Mr. Deeds' butler, I like feet.
Why don't you be a little more subtle? Jeez.
All right. Well, yeah, those are some good stats there, Chris. I definitely going to be moving him up a little bit, or at least keeping an eye out for him now.
Well, you got it. He's in the Nation of Domination.
Let's go to number 8. We have, hopefully I say this properly, Jermar Jefferson.
Jermar.
Is it Jermar?
I like
Jermar
Jermar better,
Jefferson.
actually.
Jermar, especially in COVID. You know,
Jermer. That's not Jamar still?
Jamar, yeah.
Jermar
Right.
Jefferson.
Let's just go with Jermar.
Oh,
All
man.
right, Jamar
Jermer.
Jefferson. I am awful with names.
Oh,
We know that.
dear.
Anyways, from Oregon State, he's 5'10", 217 pounds. He averaged his career at Oregon was 2,923 yards. He had 27 rushing touchdowns, and he caught for 299 and 2 touchdowns. What do you guys have on Jefferson?
Yeah, watching Jermar Jefferson on tape immediately jumped out to me as one of the better running backs of the class. He's 5'10", 217. We don't have the combine this year, but just watching him on film, he jumps out as a guy that would just blow up the combine. I think if we did have a combine, his athleticism put together with his production, and he'd be considered one of the top running backs this year, and his draft stock would just skyrocket. He's got speed, he's got burst, he moves laterally very well. I feel his size and weight, combine that with his amazing burst, and we're seeing a physical specimen that should be climbing up draft boards. At Oregon State, he was very productive. He rushed for 2,923 yards, 27 touchdowns in 27 games. And he's also been involved in the passing game, catching 43 passes for about 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. On tape, his athleticism looks pretty good. The approach to the line of scrimmage is really good. He doesn't mess around. He makes his decision quickly, and he finds the hole. And he trusts his instincts. He doesn't dilly-dally and dance around the backfield. He trusts his blocking, and he hits the hole. He's very decisive. I think he can make a big impact early in his NFL career. He's very aggressive and assertive when going towards the hole and getting into open space into the second level. And then once he hits that second level, he's got that great burst to just pull away, and then he's got that long speed just to take it to the house every time. And that size and those speeds, he's the kind of guy that can carry defenders for extra yards.
Yeah, no, I think you hit pretty much every point. There's not much really else that I found on the guy, other than, yeah, like you said, he's probably, as what I saw, he was been one of the top 5 running backs in college in gaining positive gains. So there's a stat where basically if they get positive yardage more, that's what it is. And he's one of the top 5 in that category throughout college, throughout his career in college, in gaining positive yards. And that's a huge thing for, running backs that want to go to that next level, because a team's looking to always move those chains and get those extra yardage. And he's a guy that can do that with his power running. What I see him in fantasy wise, probably more a mid-end RB2 to high-end RB3 range. But it all depends more really where he lands.
Yeah, I think a lot of these, the landing spot's going to be the biggest thing. I mean, we're going through these guys, obviously not knowing where they're going to go. So what we tell you now will probably change after the draft for most of these players, depending on where they land. So keep that in mind as well. But there's definitely some good statistics just before getting into it.
Jermar.
Number 7, Javian Hawkins from Louisville, 5'9", 196 pounds. With his 3 years at Louisville, he had 2,355 yards, 16 touchdowns, and he had 189 receiving yards with 1 touchdown. What do you guys have on Hawkins?
Javian, he came out of high school as a three-star prospect. In his freshman year at Louisville, he saw extremely limited playing time, but when he given the opportunity in 2019, he was fantastic. He rushed for 7th most yards in the nation and most rushing yards in a season in the history of the Louisville program. In 2020, he proved himself to be a bit of a producer, catching the ball out of the backfield. We see that with some of his numbers. He fits the modern NFL well with his pure speed, his natural athleticism, and his baby catching hands. His size, 5'9", 196 pounds, like Jared Patterson, is going to kind of hold him back from being that premier back at the next level. He's already had talks with the Packers. So if he lands on the Packers, I can see him having an immediate role as an RB2, RB3 guy. He should be a late day 2, early day 3 pick in the draft. His career dominator ranking is 25%, so he was involved in about a quarter of the team's total offense, and his pro football focus grade is 90. So he's graded well. He looks great on tape. If given the opportunity, I think he's going to do okay in the NFL. I don't think he's going to be that elite guy just based on his size. He's not the biggest guy, but if he can put some muscle on, if he can put some pounds on, I could definitely see him being a productive back in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said. I think you touched on all points. He's elusive. He's one of those guys that's quick. He had coming out of high school, I think he had his 40 time was like 4.36 or something. So super fast.
Yeah, that's
but
crazy.
he is small. That's the problem. Like, I mean, he's listed at 5'9". I've heard rumors and people saying he might be around 5'7". Like, I think they just kind of push it a little bit. So that is going to be his downfall. But like you say, he can catch out of the backfield. He's definitely not your red zone, smash mouth type of runner. So if you have a good scheme where you could fit and have a lot of motion in your offense, I think he could definitely be deceptive. A lot of those dump passes, screens. So he could take it to the house from anywhere on the field with that speed. So if you have a spot where you need somebody, especially those middle downs, middle yards, he could definitely make it happen for your team. But just got to make sure that he's got the durability. With that size, he's gonna get hit, and he's gonna get hit hard. So if he could bounce back from some of those hits, he could do okay.
All right. And at number 6, now this is where it got a little bit we got into some arguments here, because from I believe it was from running back 3 to 6, we've had different rankings, different spots of different people. So I mean, this person could go a lot higher once the draft comes, depending on where they go. But so we've put Michael Carter at 6 for a running back from North Carolina, 5'8", 199 pounds. In his 4 years at North Carolina, he had rushed for 3,404 yards, 22 touchdowns. He caught 656 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns. What do you guys have on Carter?
Michael Carter's in it. Oops, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no. So like I was gonna say, so Michael Carter, he was a 4-star prospect out of high school, had some great years. And actually, looking at his stats with North Carolina, he actually led the Tar Heels in rushing yards, yards per carry, scrimmage yards, and scrimmage yards per touch. And that was all basically while being a committee with Javonte Williams, who ended up getting all the more touchdowns. But I mean, the numbers and the yards and everything like that, it was all Michael Carter. And that's all within 1 touch less than Javonte Williams, actually. So it's pretty crazy how his numbers between Williams went the same, but he had so much more of those stats. His biggest strengths, basically, he's a great pass catching running back. He's a great route runner. He is elusive and he has a huge burst, so he can he finds those holes. And basically, once he sees that type of a hole, he's just bursting right through it, and he's gone almost. And another big thing is the vision, how he basically is able to predict different offenses and read them with ease, and basically knows where to go and find those holes with following his blockers. A few things that I found that maybe are his weaknesses: his breakaway speed. So when he is onto that open space, he ran a 4.7 in high school, which in college they're saying that he kind of upped it to almost a 4.5 on the 40-yard, but he's catchable basically. And they're saying, there's a lot of times in his highlight reels where you see basically he's in that open space, he's trying to get to either the flag or the pylon, and it's just someone's catching him before that. So that's a little worrisome in that sense. And the only other thing is basically his power. He is more of a smaller back at 5'8". He's a fighter. He's tough. He's going to fight for every yard he can get. He's that type of running back, but his size doesn't allow him to, break off those big defenders who are coming to hit him. So that was he's not really made to be a full power horse running back in the NFL. Other than that, I mean, he has a chance to be a big NFL team player and a big fantasy player as well. Again, all depending where he goes, and especially in PPR formats because of his catch passing ability. So definitely a big potential in Michael Carter.
Yeah, I saw a lot of the same things on film. People have knocked him for being a bit undersized, but from what I saw, he doesn't really run as someone who's undersized. He runs almost like he's bigger than he is. Like he's a hard runner. He takes the ball inside, and he's crafty the way he does it. He can carry the ball inside, and he's patient behind the line of scrimmage. He lets the block set up, and he's good at following them. what I noticed the most, like you said, was his vision. His vision as a runner and his contact balance. He's really nimble and he's really crafty with his footwork. And he doesn't overuse moves or, he doesn't try to do too much. You get too pretty on any particular runs. He's a one-cut guy most of the times in the open field and just a lot of little cuts to get defenders to miss. And his contact balance, like I said, like he's really good at breaking tackles. He can lose defenders and he can just spin through them and just stays on his feet pretty easily. It's something very appealing in a skill set as someone transitions to the NFL.
All right. Yeah. Like I said, Michael Carter, he looks good. We had him, some people had him higher, some people had him low, in that range there between 4 and 6. So it was hard to sell, but he's definitely a guy that a lot of us are going to have on our radar when we do come to our drafts, depending on where he goes. But that's our show for today. So thank you guys for listening. Please follow us at the Fantasy Football War Room on Instagram, and you can check us out now on YouTube at the Fantasy Football War Room Podcast. Next episode, we are going to be going over the top 5 running backs, so that should be good because we're going to have a lot of good information on those guys, and these guys will be definitely taken in your drafts all over the place. Depending on the rounds, we're going to be giving you that information as well. So tune in on Tuesday for that. So from us, thank you, and have yourselves a good night.
Ciao.
Peace.